It's a wagon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to apparently the chaotic Committee on Housing and General and Housing, which apparently is affected by the fact that it is Friday, the 6th of February. We are now we're going to be working on H757, which is the bill that we've had before us and is taking testimony on manufactured homes and limited equity co-ops. And we, in a prior discussion, asked counsel Cameron Wood to make some changes to the bill. And that bill, as modified, is right now being reproduced and will be brought to us momentarily. And Cameron will also share his. But one of the things, Cameron, that I think would be helpful as you walk is to walk through the bill briefly, not just in addition to whatever changes, to remind us what portions of the bill apply to manufactured homes in general, and what portions are just limited to limited equity co-ops that are manufactured home communities. Okay? That just so we get a sense of what's about what.
May I share my screen and
Please.
lift off? Okay.
Let me ask the committee, is it okay if Cameron starts knowing that we aren't going to get to hard copies for a few minutes?
Fine by me.
Okay. So, for the record, Cameron Wood, Office of Legislative Counsel,
A little bigger.
you have in front of you a draft amendment. It's draft 1.1. So this is a strike-all amendment from this committee of H757 as it was introduced. The changes are highlighted, absent removal of one of the sections, which I will comment on when we get there. Just to begin walking through, you have section 1, which is in Title 9. This is related to the chapter governing, which we use the current statutory terms, mobile homes, and the transfer or sale of mobile homes. So if you all recall, this was the chapter where we talked about if you have a bill of sale, how do you transfer the bill of sale? What has to be done notifying the clerk's office in the town where it is, and the town where it's relocating to, notifying the property owner if it's on someone else's property, etc. It also has the sections related to transferring it via deed, if you're transferring it via a deed, if it has been financed as real estate, etc. So this section is still here, and we're changing the definition. There's nothing that I've amended in this section. Just as you recall, this applies to mobile homes, manufactured homes in general. We're not talking about cooperatives. We're just talking about any manufactured home that's being transferred or sold. You all amended the permanently sited definition to clarify that permanently sited means that it's affixed to the land, and the factors that tend to show that are one or more of the following. You don't need all of the following, so no changes to that section.
Just a question on that section.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because previously that people would read it as you had to meet all of those? No.
I think
Some of those are very more cited than others. Skirting a mobile home take 2 hours. Or a manufacturer.
so. I will say it's, currently it's the language of factors that tend to show that it's permanently sited include. As you know from our drafting, we don't use the words but not limited to in our drafting because statutorily it's implied. So this isn't saying that. As I read this, it's saying factors that tend to show So just by having one, the entities that are using the definition may not determine that one is sufficient.
Okay, I was just, the other ones are very
Right.
intentional.
What
one-
the intent here was, I know, it was to let, this is a matter of the lender should be able to decide. And some lenders were acting like it's up to them. And we just wanted to make really clear it's up to them.
Okay,
Yeah,
So the skirting issue is also, it's that, it's in law,
Yeah.
that you have to have that skirting.
no, but he's saying that's alone, skirting alone is,
right.
Not
It says
exactly.
one or more. I could say, well, it has skirting. There's one of your, in your list.
no, I haven't,
That's not exactly a very,
don't shoot it for.
I will get my,
So if
not
it
a very
said,
permanent thing.
for example, if it said permanently cited means one or more of the following.
Yeah.
I would absolutely follow legally that meaning skirting alone could sufficiently
But factor
meet that definition. But it's saying
Okay.
factors that tend to show this as one or more of the
That's our
following.
caveat up top.
So an entity that's determining, a bank that's determining whether something is permanently cited, you're like, well, it's got skirting on it. You wouldn't be able to point to this and say, it meets one of them. I think a bank in that instance would say, yeah, and it's not a fixed utilities. It's not, it doesn't meet any of those other
Okay,
things.
good.
So,
Just,
okay. Moving to the bottom of this page, section 2604. So this is the section related to real estate deeds. And if you all recall, subdivision A, mobile home purchased from a mobile home dealer on or after July 1, 2008, that is financed as residential real estate pursuant to section 2603B, shall be conveyed by a warranty deed drafted in substantially the form provided in subsection C of this section. You're proposing to remove the form, so that language is being struck. Why did I highlight the word shall? I highlighted the word shall because there is a proposal or there was a recommendation from one of your witnesses to change this language. I did not change it because I think this is something you all need to give me clear direction on what you're looking for. The proposal was to change this to may among some other pieces. In a previous section, if you all recall, it talks about if the mobile home is on land that is owned by the individual, it shall be financed as real estate. And then the other piece, it says it may be financed as real estate if it's on land that is not owned by the individual. Then you have the question of how are these things conveyed? In theory, if they're being financed as real estate, they should be conveyed by deed. And so I would not recommend changing this. If you're wanting it, if it's real estate and you're wanting to treat it as real estate, then as my understanding of how the statutory construct is supposed to work, then it should be transferred as a deed. And that's what this section is saying. If you're a dealer and it's being financed as real estate, then you shall transfer it as a deed. And so there was a recommended change here that I didn't include because I felt that you all should give me direction if that's what you want to happen.
Can you put up the change? I mean, I can discuss this, but it might be good if you have it electronically.
It's not pretty. Here, just a second.
While he's doing that, let me explain. I was under the impression that if you want to do it as real estate rather than personal property, then there had to be a deed. And so that's the way it's drafted. Last weekend, East Rise came to me and said, actually, we would like to have the option of doing it with a bill of sale. And I wrote back saying, wait a minute, I thought you guys wanted to have everything be real estate. And they came back and said, yes, but we'd like the option because that's how they do it. They only do real estate, okay? we'd like the option to have it be a bill of sale. So I wrote back and I corresponded with their lawyer, Ed Fitzpatrick, and said, what gives here? Am I wrong? And what Ed explained to me, this back and forth, was the following. But that's, what's her name's, that long, is it just the top?
This is the language that came over, and this is why I said it's not pretty, because it appears they've taken the document that you have, which has all the numbers, et cetera, and
Oh, is that from Fitzpatrick?
this is, yes, this
Okay.
is the language that I was reviewing, so you would
Okay.
technically be looking at that right
Just that
there.
right there. Could you make it a little bigger?
Yes.
But anyway, let me tell you the rest of the story. So here's how they normally do business. This is important. If a deed is required, here's how they do it. Someone comes to them and they've bought, let's say they're about to buy an existing used residence, okay? Or they're about to buy a new one. And they have a deed of sale. Excuse me, a bill of sale, because that's just the way it was done. They got a bill of sale. That's what they had. What Eastrise does is they make them deed the thing to themselves using a warranty deed. And in other words, that's what they do now. It's how they kind of convert the bill of sale to a warranty deed. And what they said is that's really awkward and it's an expense and it's unnecessary. We shouldn't have to do it. And then I said, but wait, I always thought that you need a deed when you're doing real estate. And they said, no, the only reason you need a deed is because the law requires it. If you change the law and allow us to do a bill of sale, when someone comes to us with a bill of sale, we might just choose to leave it as a bill of sale. That was what I understood. And that was the reason for the change in this section that allowed them to go either way in a real estate deal.
And my apologies, some of that is included here. So I guess let me back up. Let me walk through the whole change in this section, and then I'm going to come back to A.
Okay.
So A stays the same for now from what was introduced. What I did change was in B. So A is about purchasing from a dealer.
Okay.
B is about selling or refinancing between parties. And it currently is an owner of a mobile home shall, upon financing or refinancing a mobile home as real estate or selling, going to the top of page 3, selling a mobile home that has been financed as real estate, issue to the grantee, line 2 and 3, issue to the grantee either a warranty deed or a quitclaim deed. That's statute right now. If it's real estate, you sell it or you transfer it as a deed. And I think that brings in the circumstances, Mr. Chair, that we were just talking about. So what is here that I did take from their recommended changes is to change this to a may. So it's the owner of a mobile home. The proposal would be the owner of a mobile home that is permanently sited may, upon financing or refinancing or selling as real estate, issue to the grantee either a warranty deed or a quitclaim deed. So it's a may now instead of a shall. And then we have the warranty deed language here. And I'm going to come back to the yellows. Then we're striking the form, which I will mention a comment to in a second. We're going to go all the way down to page 6, where I added this at their recommendation, which is a new subdivision E. It says nothing in this section shall prevent a mobile home owner from conveying a mobile home by a bill of sale pursuant to section 2602, which is the section dealing with bill of sale, or financing or refinancing a mobile home pursuant to section 2603, notwithstanding whether the mobile home was previously conveyed, financed, or refinanced as real estate. So this section is saying we've changed it to changed the shall to a may.
Amount.
That's
a new one.
A shall to a may, and added this subsection E at their recommendation. What I didn't do at the very beginning is when you look at the proposed language, it's a mobile home, forgive me, this is up here. A mobile home purchased from a mobile home dealer may be financed as real estate pursuant to this subsection if the mobile home is permanently sited. Guess what? That's already in the other section.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense
Okay,
to change.
we're okay with that.
If you're,
Okay.
yeah, if you're coming from a dealer and
Yeah.
you're financing it as real estate, get the deed. So then you don't have to deal with this conversion or changing.
Right, yeah, okay.
So,
We'll put it this way, if this is gonna be, in my view, I see this whole bill. What we're trying to do here is make it easier to buy, sell, transfer. It's this hyper-technical bill. I see this as round one. You know, I'm sure next year, as this goes into play and everybody lives with it for a while, in a year or two, we'll come back maybe with round two. And
It's
so-
just building a foundation
Yeah,
to be a.
so to speak.
The-
Ashley,
I just, maybe it's too late to ask this, but we keep talking about Eastrise. All other banks are going to be able to do this, correct? We're not legislating for one specific
Right. in
bank,
fact,
correct?
we want
It
more
does,
banks to do
because
it.
very few will,
That's fine. I want them to have the ability.
Yes.
I guess like that's been my biggest concern is I feel like we are just legislating for such a small specific thing, which sometimes that's needed. I just want to make sure that other banks will have
yes,
the ability, if this is, we're changing the language, the statute, that other banks can use it if necessary.
The only two things I can say about that are, I did talk to the CEO of one of the other banks,
me too.
and he indicated this was okay. And I also, that's one of the reasons we brought in Chris Steele, who is okay, because, you know, representing all the bankers. I think in an ideal world, we might have had another banker in here.
I will highlight for you all, my concern with this section is removing the forms. Cause as I've heard testimony and discussion among the committee, if you are trying to ensure that individuals are able to follow the law and make these transfers in accordance with the statute, you're removing the template form that's built into the statute that informs those people who may not want to go to an attorney that this is what it can look like. So what do I mean by that is it says, A, you're getting it from a mobile home dealer, finances real estate, they're conveying it via deed. You're getting it from somebody else, you're changing it to may be transferred via deed. In E, we're adding in, it could be a bill of sale. So we're kind of going backwards to what the change was made in 2007, which legally, I don't, that this is a decision that you will make. But then you're saying that C and D are saying, if you're giving it via warranty deed or you're giving it via quitclaim deed, here are the protections that the individuals are getting when they're transferring it via such. And it should be in substantially this form. It doesn't say it has to be in this form. It said it shall be in substantially this form. And then it provides that template. So if I am a citizen and I'm trying to transfer the deed of my manufactured home and I go to the statute and I say that I can transfer it to you via a deed, I can understand that doing it in this form satisfies the requirements of the section and you're removing it. And so I'm just acknowledging to you all that you are taking away information for the public as to how this can be done. Whether that is good policy or not, I'll leave to you.
Go and then,
Yeah, was the purpose to, I mean, said a dozen times, but nobody used it.
right,
Is the
Nobody
purpose-
uses it.
Is the purpose that it's not being used, so let's just get it out of the books? Or is the purpose, it's confusing people because they think they have to fill out this exact identical form, and there's people that tell them that they're doing it wrong because the form doesn't look exactly like that? Is like deleting language up to that form, should it be changed?
Or
what-
maybe
what was
saying
the-
may rather than shall.
there's two different options here. Yes to both. We heard that nobody uses this form that,
Not only from East Rise.
yeah, not only from East Rise, but
Well, East Rise isn't gonna use that form.
dealers don't use it. In other words, when you either you go to
For
a dealer,
them.
you either go to a dealer or you go to,
Those are the.
Or your
this form
bank.
Isn't for those people.
right.
It was never intended for them.
Well, it says substantially, and, well, first of all,
They're gonna make their own.
they make their own, but
This is for me selling it, Tom. And I go, what the heck am I supposed to make my form look?
Right,
It has to be on it for information.
that's like a,
I don't wanna
If
go
they
to the
even
bank. Tom's
use it
got
at
cash.
all-
I wanna make sure it's somewhat good.
If they even use it at all, which they don't, many people don't even recognize, they think that they can sell their home to somebody who knocks on the door and wants to buy it without even getting attorneys. That's actually happens. So I don't know about the form if it's not being used, but rather than saying shall, because doesn't that mean it has to be used?
I mean, I wouldn't mind, this, we were told that it's just a nuisance, that it's in there because some people think they have to use it. But if the committee wants to leave it, then I would say that a form is included below for illustrative purposes and may, or maybe, or something that makes it clear that it is not in any way required.
Yeah, I think the leading language up to the form, I don't know what it would say.
So it's up to the committee. I mean, I don't,
I like that. I do too.
I do too.
okay.
Because I think we should have a way for people to be able to do it without
Right.
using a lawyer.
That's fine.
That's something that you do.
Cameron looks like, oh, you guys, he's like, this for me.
Because I generally don't know, till 30 seconds ago,
If you want my recommendation, it's to leave it as it is.
Why? If we do not wish to imply that this is the form that must be used, or even one that looks like this is the one that must be used.
I don't think it says you have to use anything that looks like this. As I read the language, it says, and looking at C, a warranty deed, just don't worry about the strike through language. What does a warranty deed do? A warranty deed shall, when duly executed and delivered, have the enforcement effect of a deed in fee simple to the grantee, their heirs, successors assigned, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That the grantor has good right to sell and convey it, and that the grantor and the grantor's heirs shall warrant and defend the same. That's what the deed is doing. And then it's saying that if you give a deed that is in this form, you get those protections.
It also says in the deed and only in the deed that the owner of the park has to, I mean, there's stuff in here that isn't, goes beyond that paragraph. There's something in there that
There's
says,
one sentence that says that the mobile home, the owner of the land can't unreasonably withhold consent.
no, but the deed, they have to sign it.
Well, correct, and my assumption here is, I don't know if you've heard any testimony from people on this effect. I own the land, I own the mobile home park, you're selling the home that's on my lands.
Right,
You may owe me money, you may,
Right.
you know, there could be reasons why.
but that is a policy issue.
Yes.
And what we're being told is that it's generally makes it harder to sell and buy property in a unique way. In other words, that's all I'm saying is paragraph C that you outlined is one that provides consumer protection. It says, here's what has to be in the warranty deed, right?
It doesn't say that anything, C doesn't say that anything has to be in the deed. It doesn't.
It says
It says if it's.
that
in-
shall, when duly executed, have force and effect, et cetera. And, you know, it has to do these things.
No, it says by executing the deed that's in this form has this effect. It doesn't say that the deed has to include anything except if you go to the form. Right?
Right, but if we struck that language as, then it would, all those things would be required of the deed.
Substantial.
It says a warranty deed shall, if you strike the language, shall, when duly executed, have all of these things. And that provides consumer protection. The problem was this draft, which is very old, has been we're being told is outdated. People don't want to use it. And in addition, it has provisions that go beyond that paragraph.
If you're saying having the landowner sign it goes beyond the paragraph, I was not here when it was drafted. I don't know what the purpose was. I can logically understand why you would want that. Because.
Okay, I understand. I guess I would just say it's up to the committee. My feeling as a co-author, for what it's worth, is we intended to eliminate that requirement. And that was our intention on advice of lenders. And I'm happy to, if the people feel as a consumer protection device, we'd like, or to serve consumers who want to just, as you said, Joe, person A wants to sell to person B with no intervener, and they find this and want to use it, then I just think we should have language. It's just that's something that the deed, this is my opinion, I'm speaking as my opinion, that a warranted, we should leave it struck out that is substantially in the form of, and at the bottom, it's say, the following deed may be used by the parties, or something that's.
Yeah, because I just think back to like when I was young, I sold a motorcycle. Like, what did I do? I was like, what's a boilerplate bill of sale that I can use? Because I don't know what the heck to put on it, like the VIN number, I'm guessing some stuff. Like, I don't know. And like, if you're looking for a boilerplate form, there it is.
So I'm not trying to be uncooperative. What I'm trying to say is, C, when you convey the deed, it has an effect legally, right? All of those things in C legally happen, right? You as the grantor are defending the grantee against lawful claims and demands by doing it. So there are legal consequences of doing this thing. So you want to make sure when you transfer it, you're transferring it in the right way. Banks know how to do that. They do it all the time. Attorneys that work in this space know how to do that. They do it all the time. So if you're not going that route and you are doing it on your own, what this section is saying is if you follow our instructions here and you do what we've told you to do, then the consequences are going to legally happen. And what I'm trying to get across to the committee is if you change that and you say, it doesn't need to be in this form, it could be in this form, and somebody doesn't follow that form and they do their own thing without legal counsel advice, without financial institution advice, it maybe looks like that, it doesn't. I wrote it on a piece of paper and I gave it to you. Now that has this legal effect. And I'm just making sure you're all aware of that.
Isn't that what, was that not the intent? Was to so that it would be, so that, I thought,
I'm perfectly happy saying at the end of the paragraph, leaving it struck. Okay, strike substantially in the form of, at the end of the paragraph saying, an exemplar of such a deed that accomplishes the above purposes is, colon, and just do it.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that was what, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
My
will
comment is
carry, I think that will deal with consumer protection that he's,
the whole idea was to make it less cumbersome and consistent. They're not using the form. An LEC has their own bylaws on how someone, just because these two people, someone who's purchasing and somebody who's selling, that doesn't mean it's a done deal. They have to go through other steps to be able to be accepted into the LEC.
But this isn't just for LECs, correct?
right, it's not.
This
And
is
they
for the
still can,
transfer
so don't
of
worry
the-
about it. Okay, as long as we make that clear, I'm.
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, go ahead.
That will happen in a quick, I'm just mentioning that will happen.
With a quick grant deed too, yeah.
Okay, so one recommended inclusion here was just to specify that a quitclaim deed shall, when it's duly executed, have the force of the deed be simple, subject to the encumbrances of record, or
Yeah.
the recommended position there, which I support. I think that's helpful.
By the way, just for the committee, to complete your acceptance of a degree in real estate law, a warranty deed, which is sort of the typical deed that's used in Vermont, a warranty deed, this is my opinion, a warranty deed is a serious deed. You know, it's what we think of as a real deed. I'm transferring to you my property and it's a warranty deed. It means that I have the power to do it and own it. I really own it. I own all of its attributes so that you can enjoy it, and it's et cetera. The quitclaim deed is very different. A quitclaim deed just says, I don't know what I have, but whatever I have is yours. That's what a quitclaim deed is. So it's less desirable, but it doesn't, in the real world, make a lot of difference. But that's what a classic quitclaim deed is. I'm not making any assertions as to what I have, but whatever it is, now it's
That's
yours.
yours. Is that the same with bill of sale?
No, a bill of sale is governed by the UCC, and I am ignorant on that subject.
Because I have a bill of sale, I can't get a refinance. I purchased it, it was already a fix. It should have been a deed. I went to attorneys, I had a real closing, and all I have is a bill of sale.
Yes,
And that's typical.
yes,
I just want to clarify. And so in doing this, regardless of what the form looks like, if someone were to write out a deed, that would still hold the legal weight. Is that,
Based on the changes that you've asked me to do, I could write on a piece of paper that I'm selling you something via deed, sign my name to it and give it to you, and it would have the same effect.
that's what I thought.
we're getting rid of the look kind of like this, I thought, at the end?
yeah, that's what we're doing.
No.
No,
At the end, you're like, has to.
yeah, same thing.
It's just not gonna require.
It's not gonna say it must look like this. It's
Yeah.
just gonna say,
It may.
here it is. And if people do that, then they do. And if they don't, then they don't.
In 100 sales, I've seen this one time in 7 years.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Okay.
move on.
Okay.
The next section is removing the conversion process in 2605. This is as introduced, so I haven't made any changes. Again, I flagged for you my concern with this, but I haven't changed it subsequent to its introduction.
Okay,
Moving to page 8. This is the next change. So now we're moving out of the mobile home universe, manufactured home universe. We're moving into the universe of limited equity cooperatives. Okay. In that chapter, so we're in Title 11, which is about corporations, adding a definition of mobile home park. That's going to be relevant here in a second. So we're just adding the definition, pointing back to the definition in Title 10, which is where the definition is. Then we get to section 3 here, where I'm scrolling all the way down to page 10. Okay. Currently, in the sub 7, it says that the articles of incorporation require that no sublease of a unit shall provide for monthly payments by the subleasee in excess of 110% of the proprietary lease payment, leaving that, but then adding this 8A and B. And as you can see, this was already in the introduced version. I've just slightly tweaked it a little bit to narrow the scope of it.
or a mobile home
Only-
park
right.
organized
Only
as,
applies to mobile home parks organized as a limited equity cooperative. Those organized prior to July 1 of 2026, articles of incorporation require that subleasing of a unit can only be for fair market rent. I will just mention to you all that that is slightly different than the purpose of the limited equity cooperative, which is for low and moderate income people. Fair market rent is a different thing than that. And then it's B, for a mobile home park organized as a limited equity cooperative. The articles of incorporation shall prohibit the subleasing of a unit unless the member can demonstrate a hardship. And then I added here to just clarify that it would require an affirmative vote of a majority of the board of directors. I think previously it just said a vote. I ran into this actually in a separate context, so just clarifying it needs to be an affirmative vote.
Discussion on this. There's two different things happening here. One is just cleaning up a definition. In other words, we want to make sure we're not messing around with limited equity co-ops as a whole group. We're only messing around with limited equity co-ops that are manufactured home parks. Okay, but the second thing it's doing is essentially for new limited equity co-ops that are mobile home parks. It allows, it says you can't sublet. I do, except for hardship, et cetera. Before we discuss this, I would ask my co-author for why this is here. What is the policy reason against that would say don't allow subleasing?
So first, it's home ownership. And in the LEC, you need to, whoever's on the bill of sale warranty, it needs to be living there. So the only way,
Where's that set in is that a rule usually that's in the
In the
typical?
cooperative housing chapter as a whole, it says that I think there's a certain percentage of the units that are supposed to be lived in by members of the corporation. So it already limits the percentage of units that can be sublet. The concept here is, and to turn back over to you, my understanding is the concept here is because these are organizations that are intended to serve the members of the organization. So
Okay, just the cooperative agreement, what's it called?
articles of association or articles.
They
of
deal with this
incorporation.
subject too? Okay, so go on.
So in reality, what happens is if someone goes before the board because they need to sublet, they're moving to Florida to take care of a loved one, or there's a death or a divorce, they come before the board and ask for special accommodations. So the board grants them that. What the statute says now is that you can only charge 110% above the lot rent. So if the lot rent is 500, that means they can only charge 550. They're not doing that, they're gouging. And there's no control with the board because you don't know, it's between the subleasee and the homeowner. And so the board will grant the special accommodation for a certain amount of time. And then if you need more, you can come back. It's the hardship where when I looked up the definition, it's not broad enough. There's so many different reasons why someone would need to sublet. And most of the time, we don't have a problem with subletting, but we have a problem with them charging $22,000 to $3,000 a month. Yes,
I have a question.
yes.
So you're saying currently right now for these LECs, these specific LECs, there's language in there that says they can only charge 10% above.
Ground rent,
Okay,
which essentially
Period.
means you're not charging anything for the box.
okay. Okay. This, but you're saying it's already happened.
It's already happening.
So my question is, DUI is illegal.
People drink.
People drink and drive. So what are we trying to do? I just,
Maintain affordability.
Well, but she's raising an interesting issue. One issue is, if I may,
please.
one issue, let's try to be clear about this. There are several different issues embedded in this. One issue is if you're gonna rent your unit, let's forget about under what circumstances. If you're gonna rent your unit, current law says all you can rent it for is essentially what you pay for ground rent. It's almost as if you can't capture the value of the structure. Okay, you can just rent if your lease, so let's say it's $500 a month, you can charge $550, but let's say it's HUD fair market rent, which is, by the way, lower than fair market rent, is $1,500 a month, you can't charge 1,500. You can't charge for the value of the house. So one thing that's happening here is to try to correct that and say, whenever you get to sublease, you can charge a reasonable rent, which is below market. It's called
They
pad
can
part.
charge.
Yeah, they
The
can.
homeowner can.
The homeowner can charge that, but they can't charge more. Okay, well, I'm getting there. That's one thing this is doing. Another thing this is doing is saying, okay, if you're an existing mobile home park, you can do it, and you can charge that much. But if it's a new mobile home park, newly organized, you just can't sublease unless there's a real hardship. Okay. Another issue, so that's the second thing it's doing. It's just saying subleasing generally, as a general matter, is contrary to the intent of these limited equity codes. The third thing is the third issue. That's all it's doing. The issues raised are, if nobody's, what she's saying is if people are disobeying this now and not going to their board of directors, won't they continue to do that? What are we accomplishing here? Right?
That's a much
No,
more
it's not.
eloquent
It's
way
just
of
the thing.
saying
It's
it.
not more help. Don't give me that.
So to answer that, is that because the board's hands are tied because of the way that the law, the 110% now, and not to be condescending, but most people think that 110% means double. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they think,
But
they're
what
not
you're
trying to
saying-
do something illegal. They think that charging at 500 is that they can charge 1,050?
So what are we giving the board? Like what?
The law, the board seeing the law that they can charge.
But isn't it already the law? That's what I'm getting stuck on.
In other words, if it's already the law that they can't charge more than 110% and everybody's disobeying the law, how is this any better?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm struggling.
So,
with
And I
that.
think-
I understand what you're saying, but it's not,
Okay,
they're
I have
not,
two
they're not
answers.
gonna do the 110% for sure. Because
I,
that's only $50 in their pocket that goes towards taxes and repair and whatever. So of course, they're gonna be charging.
I guess the best answer I could give to your question, which I think is a valid one, is that when the law is unreasonable, it tends to be more likely to be just disobeyed. And that the law here is unreasonable. And so when people take a look at this and they just don't go to the board and they just rent it out, but that if they could get fair market rent, they would go or be more likely to go to the board. I'm trying, okay? That's about is that when a law is better, it's more likely to be
Carried out.
carried out. I think the flat
Well, and
yeah,
can I just add, well, and if there's like a really egregious abuse of that, then you have something that backs you.
Mhm.
Wow, it's a lot.
I mean,
yes, Elizabeth.
right, but if the law, in defining hardship, I haven't looked,
It's not.
it's not defined.
No.
And, does it say, how long the debt, like, does an owner have to reapply
No.
for hardship
Yes.
status?
Yes.
You can only separately in the chapter, you can only sublease the unit for 1 year at a time. Something I'll double check.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Do you mean in the whole limited equity co-op?
Let me, while you're all discussing, I'm going to.
Okay, I will tell you, Elizabeth, that my only experience with this is that I think the word hardship is used in the statute that lets the Board of Adjustment, is it called?
Board
Waive
of abatement,
Board of Abatement, waive property taxes,
for inability to pay.
their inability to pay. And let me
Right.
tell you, which is equally undefined. And I've been on the Board of Adjustment, and it's whatever you think it is, whatever the board agrees it is, it is. I'd hate to try to define. I can tell you,
There's a whole lot of reasoning.
there's a whole lot of reasons, and it depends. For example, a really important factor is, are you sympathetic? Do we know you? No, that's not.
So there is a section
Yeah.
1599-1 that says that the proprietary lease shall include a provision that no sublease in excess of 1 year, no amendment, or modification to such proprietary lease shall be permitted without the prior written license.
So we're out of time.
A member who sublets does not relinquish the rights and benefits of membership. So I read that to say they cannot sublease in excess of 1 year. That's the.
Typically, most of them, it doesn't go to 1 year, but they do come back and say often, we need another.
Well, this only
6 months or
goes,
something.
oh, right. And I had it.
If it's realistic and legit,
We push
the board
Okay.
grants it.
Well, that's the thing, right? And I guess the question is, are those the same people who are gouging others? Because then it's opportunistic for something that's supposed to be a hardship, and that's,
Well, the problem was that the board didn't know
Cameron,
Yes, sir.
what they were
we're
charging
talking about.
in rent. The board thought they were
Yeah.
only charging the
No,
110%.
There's one other
yeah,
thing.
right.
But we, I don't
Yeah,
think we
I
can
I
squeeze a
get,
vote.
I
in.
do get that.
He's almost done, but we can't squeeze a vote.
I'm just saying that there's a difference between hardship and turning a hardship into an opportunity.
Yeah. I just felt when writing this that having that could have the boards be able to have something in writing that states that they can't overcharge. They're not undercharging, they're not using the 110%. But the board said, had no way of knowing this. Now they have a way of knowing.
Tom,
Would it be,
have you solved it?
two questions? One, the way that is phrased, does that preclude renewing the lease every 12 months? Or does that require the approval of the board, requires approval of the board? Okay, so there's a lot of discretion.
See, I have a two,
Uh,
1330.
This 110% only applies to
This one's important.
the lot rent, correct? Are they renting their units separately?
And it's up to, we can't be buyers.
I mean, this is, if I can, so I can, here's my unit, here's my lot rent.
Discussion and action.
I can pass on the lot rent at 100%.
So we could move all of the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do is it a separate agreement? Okay, so it's supposed to be separate.
Yeah, right.
Hey.
So let me take that because I'll take that.
Okay. So here's what we're gonna do, everybody. Okay. Go ahead, tell us what we're gonna do,
Okay,
Madam Vice Chair.
so Cameron's available after 1. So we were supposed to have bill introductions this afternoon. So we're having Cameron come instead. And then at 1:30 we do have somebody coming to testify, who is a tenant on 772. And then we have a committee discussion on BABA. And so we'll have time this afternoon with Cameron.
So what we're gonna do, everybody, please try to be back here at 1. Cameron will be back and we will continue. He can wrap up pretty quickly. And then we can have discussion and we'll just make sure that there's enough time for the discussion. And you know what? If there's not enough time, we'll deal with it.
And I also just think we can't like, the discussion is like for us to get the final language, so we can come up with a final draft. We can't vote on anything that's not fully fleshed out.
Right, he can make this one change, and if there's more changes, you're right.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll see you all in one.
Okay, they
Okay.
can at 1.
Cameron.
all right.
You do not need to apologize.